Hi, my name is Nicole Green, and I am both co-director at eXtend Tutorial and also the tutor for African American literature and culture. I'm so glad that you stopped by to watch this video, and I'm very excited about your interest in this African American literature and culture class. I've created a slideshow to help us facilitate the discussion in this video. Make sure you get all the information that you need, and after the slides, we'll come back and it'll be just me, and I'll show you some of the materials that we'll be working with. Okay, so this first slide is a beautiful representation of African American literature. Just wanted to show you some of the things that just make my heart sing about this material. And again, I am Nicole Green, your tutor, and I am also co-director of eXtend Homeschool Tutorial. So let's talk a little bit about me. I am the wife of one husband for 25 years. I am the mom of 3 homeschool children who've been homeschooled all the way through, from K through wherever they are now, including my daughter, who is a high school graduate and now her sophomore, doing her sophomore year in college. That makes me a 15-year homeschool veteran. I'm an author of Homeschool 101, Chart the Course, Enjoy the Journey, a book in which I use to help share my experiences and expertise to help parents get started on their journey to homeschooling. And I also work as a homeschool consultant, helping families, coming alongside them, helping them get their journey started or make next steps as they go from one level to another in homeschooling. I'm also the founder of Homeschool Moms Pray, a homeschool prayer ministry for homeschooling moms. If you want any more information about either my book, my consulting business, or Homeschool Moms Pray, be sure to ask me via email, which information I'll share with you later. Okay, so let's dive right in. Who should take African American literature and culture? First of all, students who are mature high school students. And I don't mean that by age. It's not limited to just juniors and seniors. Any mature high school student can take this class, but they need to be mature in the sense that that some of the material and the conversations that we have in this class can get tricky. They can get a little touchy. They can be very sensitive, and students need to be able to conduct themselves in a respectful way as we go through the material. Okay, mature high school students who enjoy literature. Okay, if your child enjoys literature, they'll enjoy African American literature. Mature high school students who enjoy cultural experiences. This class is jam-packed with cultural experiences. And also mature students who enjoy Mrs. Green's classes, because there are lots of students who are in this community who enjoy taking classes with me. And I'm so excited when they come class after class, year after year, back to study with me. So how should students prepare for African American literature and culture? Before class begins, students should assemble all required books and materials. After the slideshow, I'll show you a few of those things. They should learn to type and use Google Docs and Google Slides. I cannot emphasize this enough. Your students need to be able to type, and students need to be able to use Google Docs and Google Slides prior to class beginning. We're going to jump right in using those 2 platforms. Most of our work will be done via typing, and we're going to use Google Classroom. And so all of that information is going to be accessible best to them if they can type and they can use Google Docs and Google Slides. The summer is a perfect time to acclimate yourself to all 3. You also want to access your eXtend Gmail account and get signed into our Google Classroom. So this is what students should do to prepare. Access their eXtend Gmail account, which will be assigned by the leadership team, and get signed into the Google Classroom for African American literature and culture. And then complete the assigned summer reading and writing assignment. It will not take your entire summer, maybe just a few hours before class begins, but it needs to be done before our first day of class. Okay? Parents should prepare for African American literature and culture by pre-reading and perusing all required books and materials, okay? Everything you need is spelled out, and there are ISBN numbers and links to Amazon or other booksellers for each of the books that you need. You need to click on that, do as much perusing as you can, preferably go ahead and purchase the books, pre-read them as much as you can so that you can be sure the literature that we will be covering is something that you want your children exposed to. I am very careful about the way I present material. I have students who have I have one student who's taken this class and one who will be in the class as the year goes on. And I'm very careful about the material that I present. However, I can't make judgment calls for your students. So you need to be responsible for pre-reading and perusing all required books and materials. Also, ensure that your student learn to type and use Google Docs and Google Slides, and complete the recommended preparation for using eXtend Tutorials G Suite applications. You'll learn more about that in the large group tutorial, the large group open house meeting, but there are some things we need you to do. Make sure your student has their Gmail for the Google Classroom. Make sure you know how to use particular aspects of the Google Classroom. So that's what you need to do before class begins. So what literature is covered in African American literature and cultures? We will cover literature that includes slave narratives, novels, memoir, drama, poetry, and essays that are written by African American authors. We do not read works that are written about African Americans by authors of other ethnicities. All of our works are written by African American authors. In this class, we highlight the African American voice. And students will also explore African American culture through art, music, dance, food, and traditions and observances. And we'll do lots and lots of field trips. Okay, so what will students do in this class? We will read literature closely and critically for both analysis and enjoyment. Students will watch videos, listen to audio recordings, and take lots of field trips. Students will have candid, respectful discussions about race and race relations in the United States, and students will explore the rich cultural heritage of Americans of African descent, pre-slavery till the present day. What is expected from students in African American literature and culture? It is expected that students will behave respectfully and appropriately at all times in class and on field trips. It is expected that students will come to class, each class prepared to participate in the day's discussions, and it is expected that students will complete all work on time and follow my specific instructions for how to turn it in, okay? How will students be graded and assessed in African American literature and culture? Class participation is 50% of the quarter grade. Shyness will not be penalized, but I do expect students to get into the conversations, to discuss the classes, discuss the works that we're reading, the literature that we're reading, because it's a literature class. We don't write, we don't only assess or analyze literature through papers and through projects, but we analyze it verbally. We do lots of talking about the literature, and there's lots of exchange. So class participation is 50% of the quarter grade. And then there are literature projects, including some full-length essays, and they cover the other 50%. Students will be given opportunities to create games in this class for the literature project. They'll be given opportunities to write their own works. They'll be given opportunities to create videos. They'll be given opportunities to write full-length essays. They'll be given opportunities to do very artistic, maybe project boards, all kinds of things for literature projects. Those comprise 50% of the grade. And then the honors distinction is awarded to students who participate in the class blog. So when you make your child's transcript, you can give them honors distinction. It could be African American literature and culture honors if the students participate in the class blog. That is optional, but parents need to make a commitment to that at the beginning of the class, because students who participate in the class blog also are students who will need to participate in as many of the field trips as possible. So just a word about field trips. Parents are required, some adult is required to be with students on field trips. It is not, we don't rent a bus, that kind of thing. We usually will take Metro, or some families will drive. It's okay to carpool if you work full-time or can't go, but there needs to be an adult designated for each student when we go on field trips. And field trips will include the Harriet Tubman, all the Harriet Tubman historical sites on the Eastern Shore over in the Cambridge area. We will go to Frederick Douglass House. We will go to the African American a museum in culture. We will go to several museums in the area. We're going to go to Blacks and Wax in Baltimore, lots and lots of field trips. And those field trips will be, are designed to facilitate the culture piece of this class, okay? Students who participate in the field trips will then have discussions in the class blog. We'll talk about where we've been, how we got there, what we learned, and students who participate in the class blog will get honors distinction on their transcript for this class. Okay, so now what can parents expect from this course? I am the tutor, you are the teacher, and I will remind you of this all year. That means if any of the material is too heavy for your student, if your student is not doing well with the discussions, if your student misses a reading or can't do their project, anything that has to do with the way your student is handling this class, the material, I am just the tutor, I am your partner, but you are the teacher. And all year, as you have to communicate that to me, I will be reminding you, everything is at your discretion. However, I do want you, like we said before, to go through the materials and make sure ahead of time that this is a class and these are materials you want your children, you want your students to be interacting with. Okay, that'll cause a lot less disruption as the year goes on. Then you will have opportunities to accompany your student on field trips, which are designed to enrich the lives of adults and students alike. I expect parents to go on these field trips or at least designate someone to go. You can send a grandparent, you can send an adult sibling, you can send maybe not the primary teaching parent. If you have younger kids that you don't want to necessarily take on this field trip, you can send the other parent, but you're also welcome to bring your other students if you're homeschooling younger children. Each environment or situation will be different with regards to the field trips. And so we will communicate that very well together as time goes on. And then you also need to expect that your students' understanding will be broadened and some of their biases toward themselves and others will be challenged. That's what this class does. The material, the cultural experiences challenges us all. So you can expect your students' understanding to be broadened and some of their biases to be challenged. What is expected from parents in this class? So before, what can you expect? And now what is expected from you? Parents are the teacher, and you have the privilege of ensuring that your student is working to their potential. So I expect you to communicate, like I said before, any issues with me as they arise. And also, please sign up for the garden summary and keep an eye on your students' grades and progress in class mid-quarter. Please don't wait until the end of the quarter when grades come out to dispute a grade or to wonder why your child has so many missing assignments or where did this zero come from. Please sign up for the Guardian Summary, which we'll talk about in the large group open house session, and keep an eye on your students' grades. We do all grading. In this class, I'll do all grading through Google Classroom, so nothing will be a mystery to you. You'll always be able to see it, okay? And then the last slide is just, if you have more questions, feel free to email me at ngreen@extendhomeschool.com. Okay, so I went through that rather quickly, and basically I'm expecting parents to email me if you have questions, but I wanted to show you just one of the books. It is a textbook. It is actually a public school textbook called African American Literature. It is published by Reinhardt and Winston, but I find it to be excellent. In years past, I've taught African American literature and cultures by putting together a quorum of just materials and making lots of copies and paying for copyright and all kinds of stuff. And this year I found this text and I'm so excited about it, and we're going to use it. It is available at Amazon, it's available at Thrift Books, and I believe at ABE Books. As you can see, I have the brown cover. There is also a green cover. They are only slightly different. So if you can't get your hands on the brown cover, feel free to get the green cover. And those slight differences, as we come across them, I'll be more than happy to help your student bridge the gap between what I have in my book and what they have in theirs. Okay. The other books are works of literature. I've given you the ISBN numbers and I've linked to them for you for Amazon. I want you to remember that the three, Frederick Douglass, Up from Slavery, and I'm drawing a blank. Frederick Douglass, Up from Slavery, and the W.E.B. Du Bois book, are now have been compiled into one volume. You save money if you get the one volume by all means, if you have them at the house somewhere, or you already own a copy otherwise, and you have the individual ones, by all means, the individual ones will work, okay? I just gave you the link and the ISBN to the full volume so that it saves you a little bit of money to buy all three at once. And so that's all I have for a orientation or introduction to African American literature and culture. Again, if you have any questions, reach out, ngreen@extendhomeschool.com. I'm looking forward to having your student in my class this fall.